This is the final episode of the Loneliness series, and I want to start it with an honest admission. I don't have a story about deliberately searching for my people and finding them through some set of right actions. The people who matter to me now, my husband, a few friends I can talk to about almost anything, didn't arrive by following instructions. They arrived when I was finally in a state where I was capable of letting someone in. And that, I think, is the central idea of this whole series. Not how to find your people, but how to become the person your people can appear next to. A small difference in wording, but an enormous one in meaning. Today we'll talk about why deep relationships are harder to build as an adult, and what's actually behind that. About what works, and what only creates the illusion of working. And about 2 stories from my own life that explain how this plays out in practice better than any theory could. There's a widely shared observation that goes something like this. In school and university, friendships formed on their own, but after 30, it's unclear how or where. And this isn't just a feeling. There's a very specific psychological mechanism behind it. Social psychologist Jeffrey Hall conducted research trying to determine how much time it actually takes for an acquaintance to become a friend. The results were surprisingly concrete. Moving from acquaintance to casual friend requires around 50 hours of shared time. Genuine friendship requires around 200 hours of live, informal interaction not organized around a specific task. Now think about where those 200 hours accumulated on their own during student life. In the shared canteen, in the dormitory, in lectures and seminars, in hallway conversations between classes. The context built closeness almost automatically, not because people were better or more open then, but because the structure of that life provided repeated, low-pressure contact. Adult life is stripped of that structure. Everyone has a different schedule, different priorities, different obligations. Meetings get planned 2 weeks in advance. Interaction becomes transactional. You see someone for a reason, then go your separate ways. And 200 hours never accumulates, because every interaction is an effort now, not a background condition. This doesn't mean deep relationships in adult life are impossible. It means they no longer happen on their own, and they require an intentionality that simply wasn't necessary when you were younger. Before talking about what works, it's worth being honest about what doesn't. Because there are several very common approaches that generate activity without generating closeness. The first is networking and expanding your social circle as an end in itself. Going to events to meet new people isn't inherently wrong. But if the logic behind it is, the more people I meet, the better my chances of finding someone close, it doesn't work. Closeness isn't a numbers game. It doesn't arise from increasing your contact count. It arises from the depth of specific interactions, not their quantity. The second is forced vulnerability. There's a popular idea that you need to open up to people, to share personal things, and then relationships will deepen. That's true, but only halfway. Vulnerability works when it's gradual and mutual. When someone shares something personal at a second meeting with a near stranger, it doesn't create closeness, it creates awkwardness. Real closeness is built through repeated small exchanges of trust that accumulate over time. The third is searching for your people based on formal criteria. People often think, I'll find those who share my interests, and everything will fall into place. Shared interests are a good entry point, but they're no guarantee of depth. You can attend the same book club for years and stay casual friends. And you can meet someone in a completely neutral context and discover that the conversation goes somewhere you didn't expect. That's the signal worth not missing. Now for what does work. And here it's easier for me to speak from my own experience rather than through theory. I have 2 stories, very different in form, but similar at the core. The first is about my husband. We met on a dating site. I mention this deliberately. because it's easy to talk about how harmful social media and digital communication are. And then it turns out that's exactly where I met the person who became the closest. A tool is a tool. Everything depends on the state you're in when you pick it up. And my state at the time was a specific one. Shortly before that, I had finally made sense of what had happened at university. That story with the lecturer I told in the last episode. I gave what happened a name. I understood at what point everything had gone wrong and what I could have done differently. I saw the warning signs I'd ignored at the time. And once I understood all of that, it released its hold on me. Not all at once, not in a single day, but it let go. I left my first job, went on holiday, and a month later registered on the dating site again. I'd tried it on and off over the course of about 5 years, never with much result. This time, I posted a personal ad. The site had that feature. My future husband was one of the people who responded. We exchanged a few messages about completely ordinary topics, and the conversation immediately went somewhere unexpected. It was noticeable straight away. We met the next day. It's been almost 10 years, and we're still together. I think about why then, and not earlier, and the answer seems simple to me. Before that, I was occupied on the inside. Unprocessed stress, an unlived story, unlearned lessons, all of it was taking up space that needed to be free for something new. When that space cleared, a person appeared. The second story is different. These weren't new people, they were old ones. People I'd once been close to, then drifted from, and then found again. We still had each other's contacts, but barely spoke. And at some point, it turned out that we had both changed. The context had changed, and new points of connection had appeared that hadn't existed before. That's also an important idea. Sometimes your people aren't out there to be found, they're already nearby, waiting to be seen again. People change. Relationships that once didn't work, or simply went quiet, can come back to life in a new form, if both people are ready for it. Both of my stories share one thing that I want to name separately, because it feels like the most important idea in the entire series. Deep relationships don't come to a person who is occupied on the inside. Occupied with unprocessed experience, unresolved tensions, chronic anxiety, resentments that were never given a name, fears that were never acknowledged as fears. All of this is internal noise that gets in the way of genuinely hearing another person, and gets in the way of another person genuinely hearing you. This doesn't mean you need to fix yourself before looking for closeness. People don't break and they don't get fixed. But there's a difference between someone who carries unprocessed weight without being aware of it, and someone who sees that weight, names it, and is gradually working with it. The second person is open. The first is occupied, even if they can't feel it themselves. Attachment psychology explains this through the concept of availability. A person who is internally anxious, closed off, or overloaded is physically unable to offer another person the presence that deep connection requires. They either expect too much and are disappointed, or they invest too little and stay at the surface. Or they choose people who reproduce the pattern they already know, not because they want to suffer, but because the unfamiliar is more frightening than the familiar, even if bad. Working on yourself isn't self-absorption. It's the precondition for someone else being able to feel good alongside you. And yet, practice matters, because understanding the mechanism changes nothing on its own if no action follows. The first and most important thing, invest in what's already there. Most people searching for new close connections fail to notice that someone already nearby could go deeper. It's just that no one has taken the first step. A person you talk to regularly on neutral topics can become close if one day you say something a little more real than usual, or simply ask something a little more personal. Not bluntly, not forcing it, but stepping forward. The second, pay attention to conversations that go somewhere unexpected. That's a signal. When a near stranger or someone you don't know well produces a conversation that feels different from how conversations usually go, Don't rush to end it. Don't retreat into politeness. Let it run a little longer. The third, think of people you were once close to but drifted from. Not because of a conflict, not because of a falling out, paths simply diverged. Sometimes a simple, "Hey, I've been thinking about you," is all it takes. People change. What didn't work then may work now. The fourth, and this contradicts a lot of common advice, don't search deliberately. Don't go to events with the intention of finding your people. People sense when they're being assessed as a potential resource rather than encountered as a person. The best context for a genuine connection is when you're doing something you actually care about, and someone else is there for the same reason. A shared thing creates closeness better than the intention to create closeness. The fifth, be prepared for it to be slow. 200 hours is not an exaggeration. Deep relationships are built through repeated shared time, through the gradual accumulation of trust, through small moments that are individually unremarkable, but together create something real. Don't expect it to happen fast. And don't write a relationship off as not right, just because after 3 meetings it hasn't become deep yet. I want to close this episode, and the whole series, with one idea that is, personally, the most important thing I've taken from everything we've talked about. The anchor you need is primarily inside yourself, not in the external world. This isn't about other people not mattering. They do. Close relationships are one of the most valuable things in life. But if you build them from a place of deficit, from the sense that you won't cope without these people, that you're incomplete without them, that losing them would be a catastrophe, those relationships become fragile. For you and for them. A person with an internal anchor enters relationships differently. Not because they don't need people, but because they choose them freely, not out of fear of loneliness, but out of a genuine desire to be alongside someone. That's a different energy. And it creates a different quality of connection. Looking for your people stops being an end in itself and becomes a tool for a life you actually want, not a way of filling an emptiness that, in truth, can only be filled from within. We've been through 4 episodes. We talked about loneliness and solitude, about the fear of silence, about surface-level connections, and the romanticization of closeness. And all of it comes down to one thing. The quality of your relationships with other people is always a reflection of the quality of your relationship with yourself. Not because something is broken in you if you feel lonely, but because the path to others always begins with the path to yourself. The final questions of the series. They cover everything at once: loneliness, closeness, and where you are right now. Write the answers down. It's the best thing you can do after 4 episodes. On your internal state, is there something you're still carrying unprocessed? Some story, some resentment, some situation you've never given a name to. Not to dig through the past for its own sake, but to understand how much internal space it's occupying right now. On what's already there. Is there someone nearby whose relationship with you could go deeper, but you've never taken a step in that direction? What's in the way? Fear, habit, a sense that it's not necessary. On the anchor, if the person closest to you suddenly disappeared from your life, what exactly would you lose? Support, presence, a mirror in which you see yourself. The answer tells you something about what you're looking for in closeness, and whether that thing exists inside you already. The final question of the series. You came into this series with some feeling or question about loneliness. Has something shifted in how you understand it, not necessarily for better, just differently? If yes, what exactly moved? I started this series with a question about why the same state, being alone, can be both pain and resource at the same time. We moved through the fear of silence, through surface-level connections and their causes, through how genuine closeness is built, slowly, through repeated experience, through the willingness to be yourself. I'm not a psychologist. I'm someone figuring this out alongside you through books, through my own experience, through questions that went unanswered for a long time. And the main thing I've understood in all of this, loneliness stops being a problem the moment you stop running from it. Not because it goes away, but because you stop seeing it as an enemy and start recognizing it as something that has something to say. Thank you for being here through all 4 episodes. See you in the next one.